Hello, it's me again. Thursday night, so I'm here, 7 o'clock. I am checking my stuff. I hit a button and it tells me to upgrade. I don't want to upgrade. I mean, I do want to upgrade, but just not yet. So, there we go. Chat overlay. All right, now you guys, I think you guys, if you're on Facebook, you can see, this is new. I'm not doing this before. Anyways, welcome to Now What with Jeanna, where I answer questions, offer tips, and say stupid shit about recovery, addiction, sobriety, and hello, Andrea. Glad you're here. Anyways, stupid shit all the time, I do. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll see if I can answer them. I've got a planned out talk today, but if I have time or if I have the answer, I can get to them at the end, or I can get to them next week. I don't know. We'll see. Just let me know if you have any questions. In the meantime, for the past couple weeks, I have been talking about Stephen Covey's, I don't know if you guys have yet on Instagram, you're backwards, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Except, I don't know, what am I calling it? 7 Habits of Highly Effective Sobriety. There we go. That's what I was calling it. 7 Habits of Highly Effective Sobriety. And I've had this book, as you can tell, it's real worn. I've had this book for a while. I first read it before I decided to get sober, and I couldn't read it. I couldn't continue to drink and follow the habits that he advises, even though I wanted to. I tried. I thought I was all almighty. Almighty, is that the word I want? And gave it a good go, but I wasn't ready to quit. So I picked it up again and started reading it again and thought, wow, these 7 habits can definitely be used for sobriety. And they're actually things that I live without really paying attention to or knowing that I was living them. And I'll read through the habits real quick. Habit 1 is be proactive. 2, begin with the end in mind. 3, put first things first. 4 is think win-win. 5 is seek first to understand, then be understood. 6 is synergize. And 7 is sharpen the saw. So as I'm rereading through this, I'm presenting the habits. Today we're going to talk about habit 1, which is be proactive. But I'm presenting them in a way we can use them to relate to sobriety and how they might help you if you follow the habits or trying to put them in effect. So the first one is be proactive. I got notes. I always have notes because I can go off in a tangent if I don't. Before I do, I'm going to look. I got new stuff. I'm going to hit this button and say, to get more, hit that subscribe button. I am on several channels, including YouTube, and all my past videos are on YouTube. So if you want to get some, more of the videos, the past videos, I've done 2 in this series of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And they are on replay in YouTube, so you can watch them there. And you can look in, I think in whatever channel you're on. I'm trying to keep them in there, although I don't always hit the right buttons. And I know one of the channels that I'm on deletes everything after 30 days. So it's all. I have it everywhere. I have it all in one place on YouTube. So go ahead and hit that button to subscribe, and you get me. I come in weekly with these. My nose tickles again. Allergies are so bad. We had a huge storm last night. I did so well with the storm, except one time it scared the crap out of me, and I woke up. I noticed that someone is on, aside from Andrea, someone else is on. If you could say hi and let me know who you are and where you're from, I would love to hear from you and get an idea of where I can find you. Anyway, so let's see, I already got that one. So we're talking about being proactive, and the opposite end of that is reactive. And if you're not proactive, you're reactive. So I'm going to define the 2 first, and then I want to talk about how that's going to help with sobriety. Get a little more details about what Stephen Covey says. These are not my ideas. These are Stephen Covey's ideas, and I have adjusted them to help us with sobriety. I adjusted them to help me make great decisions or better decisions and to stay sober. And I'm kind of looking at the past at how some of these decisions, how some of these decisions have worked for me, whether it's reactive or proactive. So to be proactive, you are the product. You believe you're the product. Your life is a product of your values, not your feelings. People who are reactive have feelings. Don't get me wrong. Proactive have feelings, but they don't necessarily act on them, especially not in that first reactive choice. They take responsibility for their decisions, and they have a capacity to choose. We have a capacity to choose our response. Someone who's reactive takes this victim mode, and I want to talk about that in a little bit because I had the victim mode. They take this victim mode. They react out of feelings. They believe their life is a function of their feelings, their moods, their impulses, very impulsive. And if you have drank for any amount of time, if you're where I was, you know what that impulsiveness means. I was very impulsive. I got some examples. They're wonderful. Not ones I like to share, but I'm going to go ahead and share it anyways. And I want to say hello. Oh, Hassan is requested. Hi, Hassan. I'm not taking requests at the moment to be live in the videos because I have an agenda, a schedule, and it will throw me off. I apologize. But if you want to talk at a later time, I might be willing. I don't know. Let's talk and connect and see if we can do something together. I'd love to collaborate with you or with anyone else who's interested in collaborating. I need to collaborate, so I'm open-minded about it. Anyways, so a reactive is the victim. I'm the victim of other people's actions. I'm the victim of my emotions. I have no choice in what I do. Everything happens to me. Nothing happens for me. That's the victim and a reactive mindset. There we go. So, anyways, what Stephen Covey says is that I'm skipping down. Is that how this works? Is we have a stimulus and then we have a response. He's got it in boxes. I love it. But he has there's a stimulus that happens and then a response. If you are dealing with triggers at the moment, it doesn't look like Hassan. This is kind of interesting to me. Hassan, I think it's French. I don't think he speaks French or understands English. I don't think he understands. I'm not saying it. Sorry, Hassan. I'm not saying it right. But anyways, let's connect afterwards. I would love to talk to you. So he says there's a stimulus and a response for every decision we make. And when we are reactive, the space between the stimulus and the response is very small. We don't have time or make time to enact what he calls the what does he call it? The four human. I got it right down. 4 human endowments. So we don't have time to enact those 4 human endowments. Just something happens and we react. Now, I have examples from when I was drinking. And actually, my big example that I put on here, my notes has to do with going live, going on Facebook, drunk texting. I'm sure you guys have done it. I know I have done it. Drunk texting, someone pisses you off, doesn't show up for a date, and immediately, without thinking about it, you are on there texting them. I don't know how many guys. I know one guy, let's put it that way, one guy where I had drunk texted more than once. And I had a rule, no drunk texting, no drunk Facebooking, and definitely no drunk lives. My one drunk live, I don't know. I got drunk and was really, really upset, reactive out of emotions. I was really upset and just I just did it. I just hit the live button and went in there and I cried for about 20 minutes live on Facebook. And And the next morning I woke up and I thought, oh shit, what did I do? I got on and I was blasted. In fact, one person said, you need serious help. And he was right. I really did. But this is a reactive mode. I wasn't thinking. I just jumped in and did it. Another Facebook time, I was at a club, comedy club actually, and then after the comedy club there's a lot of dancing and having a good time, and they had said that the band playing at the club was in a video. Well, in my drunk reactive state, I got all excited and Facebooked everyone saying I'm gonna be in a video, and I wasn't. And the next day I was like, okay, now what? And my husband at the time said, Gina, did you see any cameras? And I said no. And he said, because there weren't any, there weren't any cameras. So that's being reactive. What Stephen Covey says is that when you're proactive, you give yourself the space between the trigger, this person pissed me off, and the response, I'm going to get drunk. You give space in that, in between the trigger and the response, the stimulus and the response, to enact those four endowments. And the four endowments are, where did I put them? Four endowments are self-awareness, or the ability to examine ourselves; imagination, or the ability to see the outcome; a conscious, we get to rely on our conscious to make a decision. That's the ability to identify our values. Is this a good choice? Does this fit within my values? And I say this all the time. One of the first things I do is identify when making a choice. How does this fit in my values? Especially when it's a difficult choice. I have learned that if I want to stay sober, I have to live within my values. Otherwise, I make bad choices, and I'm not comfortable with them. I can feel it in my body, and there's this discomfort that would have in the past led me to drink, and I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel it, whether or not it leads me to drink or not. I don't want to feel it. But if I need to stay sober, I definitely need to avoid it at all costs. So, the conscious is your ability to identify your values. And in that space, you also have independent will, which is the ability to make your choice, not to have other choices be enacted upon you, or react in a way that has nothing to do with a choice. It's just, an impulse. So, anyways, he talks about that. Now, I wanted to give, I'm looking, I wanted to talk about real quick, or at least remind y'all that if you're in the 12-step program, if you follow AA, I'm going to turn this off. I wanted to see the chats, but I'm going to turn this off. So anyways, if you follow the AA program, then we talk about the pause, how taking that pause, when you have a trigger, you take the pause, and then you can identify some of the things that you can do instead. But really, the pause gives you those four human endowments. It gives you that space. That's what he's talking about by stimulus, the space between the stimulus and the response. It's that time you need to make better decisions. And it doesn't take long at all. I I can almost, it's almost reactive, how, I have a choice to make. Say, for example, someone cuts me off on the road. I don't have to think much about it. It's become pretty much innate that I first think, well, this person must be having a bad day, or maybe there's an emergency going on. So I think that I identify whether or not I want, self-awareness. Do I really want to be mad and yell at this person? I identify my values, which is to put my, in this case, to put myself in their shoes. And then I make a choice, and it usually ends up being, I, because I'd rather, I don't know, just spread some joy. I don't have to take it personal that someone's cut me off. They may not have even seen that I was there. We do this all the time. I'm certain. I know I do it. I'm sure you do. If you do, please say yes, me. If you've cut someone else off before, I actually will cut someone off and then smile like, hi, like, I'm totally innocent and this was a joke. But I don't know if they like that so much. So, anyways, that longer space gives you time to think and to examine yourself, to examine the outcome of the situation. What if the guy cuts me off and I react poorly? Is he going to, I mean a lot tonight. Is this person going to? And I said he. It might have been a she. Is this person going to cut me off more? Are they going to come out and be violent? Are they going to cuss me out? Probably. But if I do something, so I got a time to imagine the outcome and then to apply my conscience, which right now is just not to be angry. Oh yes, yes, no, but I mean, Andrea, have you? Oh, I guess the question was, have you cut anyone off? But yeah, right now at the moment you can't. I try not to, but we just do. I mean, this is a thing. We cut people off for whatever reason. It's not on purpose. I've done it not on purpose. And people have given me face. I remember one time I was just sitting in my car doing nothing, and this lady was cussing me out in the car next to me. I don't understand why. I have no idea what she was doing, what I was doing. I could have been really doing something that made her mad. I don't know. Um, maybe I was. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm a little off topic here. I'm moving in directions. So I've got a couple examples of stimulus and response versus, with a reactive mindset. And tell me if you've done any of these. Oh, okay. Yes, yes. I mean, but honestly, Andrea, she says before she used to. She's being careful with her driving. But honestly, Andrea, we do it and don't even know we're doing it. I remember when my grandpa died, my mom was being very reactive. My grandpa died. She was acting out of emotions, and my grandma was in the hospital, and she wanted to get there fast. And she had gotten a speeding ticket, not even realizing she was speeding. So, I mean, there's just times when we all do it. And I try to give grace to everyone because I don't know when that is their time. I don't know that that they didn't get the phone call that says, you know, run to the hospital now before the time's out, or that there's a pregnant woman in the car beside them, or I mean, we just don't know what kind of state they're in, emotionally, and what's going on. So I think, we just all do it. Anyway, stimulus. Someone makes me mad. I yell. Work was hard. I take it out on my kids. That's not a good one. I try not to do that. Life isn't going my way, and I drink. This is what we do. Most of us do in in this reactive state with regards to alcohol. Life is going great, and I want to celebrate, so I drink. So it's and most of the time it's emotion based. Let's see. So moving on. I am scooting down. I've kind of twisted back and forth and out of my notes aren't in the same order I'm going in, so I'm getting a little lost. So, here, yes, I talked about that. And I'm not totally sure why I wanted to add this, except he talks about it in this chapter about being proactive. And I thought it was really significant. I'm going to blow my nose, but I thought it was really significant because there were times in my life when I wasn't proactive. I was very reactive, as I said. Hold on. That's awful. Anyways, there were times in my life when I wasn't proactive. And I had some paradigm shifts, or as we talk about it in AA or the 12-step programs, as spiritual awakenings. It's the same thing, essentially. A paradigm shift is an important change that happens when the usual way of thinking or about or doing something is replaced by a new and different way of thinking. So my two paradigm shifts in which I was reactive, this made major changes in my, actually, when I started drinking. The first one was around 2007, and I suddenly realized that I didn't know what my purpose was. I had a 10-year plan, and I had fulfilled all of that 10-year plan, with the exception of one item, which was a trip to Europe. And I suddenly didn't know what I was going to do next. I had also, I thought I was going great. I had also, my dad left and didn't tell me he was going. So I felt abandoned one more time. And my parents moved to Alabama. I was in California. So I felt more abandoned. And there was just this huge paradigm shift in the way I was to the way I became. And I got very reactive. And without thinking about the effects of alcohol, alcohol kind of solved my emotional problems. You know, and I had time to think about it. I just chose not to. I just was in a state that I didn't know what else to do. So I didn't. Let me look back here. I didn't use my imagination to see the outcome. I didn't have any self-awareness. I didn't have any self-awareness at the time. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know, who loved me, who hated me. I was lonely. Everything was like, I was lost in everything. And I wasn't, as I said earlier, wasn't working on my conscience. I knew was raised around alcoholics, and my conscience told me not to drink, but I wasn't paying any attention to it. And so I made a reactive choice to handle my emotional problems with alcohol. The other time was in 2018, when I lost my son. And again, I was very reactive to that. First of all, the day I found out he had died, one of the key thoughts in my mind, aside from I want him back, I repeated that a lot. But the other key thought I had in my mind was, who do I speak for now? My son was born with a birth defect that gave him hearing problems and speech difficulties. And I spent a lot of my life, a lot of his life, speaking for him, advocating for surgeries, advocating for speech therapy, advocating for preschool and his teachers. When the day he died, I just didn't know who I would speak for. And I responded with, I speak for CJ, but I didn't know what to do about it. And how did I react? I wasn't being proactive at the time. If I was being proactive, I would have taken action on the I speak for CJ statement. What I did instead was drink more and added sleeping pills and more alcohol and whatever I could get my hands on. I just didn't want to live. And so I was being very reactive. And I spent a lot of time being very reactive, including reacting to having lost his ashes. They were in a little pewter box in my pocket the day I'd received them. And I lost them, and I reacted by flying out the back door looking for them, and fell downstairs and spent 3 days in the hospital. Very reactive decisions. And I spent about 7 months doing that. Not taking control of my life, not doing things that were going to be good for me, not dealing with my values at all, not looking to the future. There was no, the imagination part of that 4 human endowments, the imagination didn't exist for me because I didn't want a future. So I did not look forward. And it ended up being a very negative time in my life. Now, 2 times when I became very proactive in my decisions. Vince is in the other room making noises, and I'm about to yell at him because he's very distracting to me. Let him hear that. Anyways, so the 2 times in my life where I had the paradigm shifts, or the awakenings, the spiritual awakenings, and I was very proactive in those. In 2018, about 7 months after his death, I woke up and realized that something had to change, that I didn't want to drink anymore. I couldn't handle the alcoholism. The other one was in 2018, about 10 days later, when I kind of discovered my purpose. I was at a meeting, and someone said that our alcoholism, our addiction, was a gift, and that it was our job to give that gift back to others. And so today I'm doing what I'm doing, is sharing my experience and sharing what I did to recover. So my 2 proactive decisions, based on paradigm shifts. Now, what happened? Let's go back to those 4 human endowments. Self-awareness. I woke up and said, I didn't want to be this way. I mean, that's the biggest one. I became aware of what I was doing. In fact, I have 4 questions that Stephen Covey, he actually posed 3 of them in a class that he did. So we'll handle this based on the questions. First one is on self-awareness. What is happening to me and what is the stimulus? What is happening to me was I was killing myself. Stimulus was that I had no purpose. I had lost my son. I was emotionally bankrupt. Um, Oh, thank you, Andrea. She says, thank you for your gift. Thank you very much. I'm going to keep giving it as long as I possibly can. So it is a gift to me, actually. Anyway, so what is happening to me the day I woke up and realized I couldn't drink anymore? I was bankrupt. I was morally bankrupt. I just, I just, I felt ruined. I felt empty. I felt lonely and just devastated. The next question: imagine what is going to happen in the future. I imagined, I imagined living under a bridge. I imagined being homeless. I couldn't at that point imagine the positive outcomes of sobriety. I didn't think it was going to work. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just know I couldn't do this anymore. But I did. I remember spending probably an hour in bed before making the decision to go to a meeting, really just looking at the future with the negative outcomes. So question number 3 is about conscious, and Stephen Covey doesn't write about this. I didn't find it, notice it in the book, but he didn't write about it in the book. But I'm going to ask this question. This is one that I definitely asked myself that morning, and that is, what are my values? And I did. I asked myself, is this how I intend to live? Am I doing anything positive for anyone? I was hurting my parents, and that's not against my values. I was neglecting my children who were adults, but that was against my values. What are my values? My values are to live a sober and happy life. I wasn't living within my values, and I kind of realized it that morning. And the last one is, what is my response? To waking up this morning. And my response was to go to a meeting. And I was very proactive in that. And it wasn't easy. It was so incredibly hard to make that decision to go to that meeting. I actually unmade it and made it and unmade it and made it. And, actually I started the night before, made the decision and unmade it and made it. And then, yeah, some more of that in the morning. So anyways, these questions and applying these questions and taking that pause to make the decision as opposed to react to what was happening, it allowed me to make a decision that helped my life, that completely changed my life. Same with the discovering my purpose. 2016, 10 days after recovery, I went to my very first meditation, and emotionally overwhelmed again, I meditated, and I meditated about my son. He was like the focus of my meditation. And I discovered in an hour where I had only felt anger before, I discovered that I could feel sadness and joy and love and anger and forgiveness and all these things that I hadn't felt in years, all at the same time. Literally was just overwhelming me with emotions. So in that case, what was the stimulus? It was this overwhelmed feeling of emotions. What was happening to me? I was feeling something for the first time in my life. I was feeling something other than anger. Let's put it that way. Other than anger, I couldn't even be sad over my son's death. It was just a lot of anger. What's going to happen in the future? And that's when I realized that I could learn to love again. I mean, I seriously realized I could learn to love again. What are my values? And I wanted my life back. I wanted to live. I didn't want to die and people at my funeral go, what a waste, I mean, that was really important that I realized at that time. I wanted to connect with my son on a spiritual level, and I knew I couldn't do it with alcohol. So my response was to make the decision to start doing this, and giving this gift back. It was all in the same weekend. So much happened in that weekend, giving the gift back. And this is a very proactive decision. I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about was this whole paradigm shift. You know, maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you're sober but don't want to be. Maybe you're still drinking but are thinking about it and you're not ready yet. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. When it does happen, that paradigm shift, that for me, it was a decision that I could not do this anymore. There was no desire whatsoever to continue on with my life the way I was. When that happens, recovery is so much more than just possible. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, it was inevitable for me. It was gonna happen. And I see this so often. People come in the rooms and they're just not done yet. It's because they haven't had that paradigm shift yet. That they haven't reached that point where it's inevitable. Recovery is inevitable. I got a tickle. Try not to sneeze. Anyways, and you can have that paradigm shift. It'll happen. I see it happening all the time. We have one girl, I won't mention names or details, but there's one girl that's been in and out and in and out and in and out and had a lot of stuff going on in her life. And it sounds like she's had that shift. There's a couple girls in the room that sounds like they're done. And I'm not going to suggest that recovery is easy for them, but they're done. It can happen. So, I got books in here. We didn't talk about, I have a couple book suggestions. We've been on here a half an hour. I've been trying to limit these to a half an hour. I was doing an hour, but I'm trying to cut them short. We didn't talk about what, let me see if I got a note. We didn't talk about what I'm going to talk about with these book suggestions. A lot of what Stephen Covey talks about in this chapter and in other chapters is Viktor Frankl. And what happened with Viktor Frankl, this is the last of it, and then I'm going to head out. He was a psychiatrist and a Jew during the Holocaust, and he was put in the death camps. And his job was to, he said that he didn't know whether or not he was going to go to the gas chamber, whether he's going to be gassed to death, or whether his job, he was going to the chambers to shovel out the ashes of the people who were gassed and cremated. And so he was living on this edge, and it struck him that the last human freedom was the freedom to choose to be happy. I'm not saying that right, but it that's essentially what it was, is that you have the ability to choose your state of mind, whether or not you're going to be happy in the life you have, whether or not you have the ability to be proactive, or whether or not you're going to be the victim and be reactive. You have the ability to make that choice. And I talk about this because I mention a lot to a lot of people that it's a state of mind. Recovery for me has been a state of mind that I went that paradigm shift where I can't do this anymore. It went overnight from I don't think I can quit to I have to. I can't keep drinking. And it was a mindset shift. It just was immediate. And Viktor Frankl says you have the ability to think that way. If he can be in a concentration camp and not know from day to day whether or not he is going to be alive or die, be gassed, be put to death. I want to say hi to Owen. Thank you for joining. But if he can be in that concentration camp and still have a positive outlook, he said that while he was in there, he imagined the future. He imagined getting out of the camps and surviving and teaching his students about survival, about what happened to him, about the atrocities that went on, and that gave him joy. And if he can do that and have that joy in the concentration camp, then we can all perceive our future, our sobriety in a positive way. I know I sure do. So I wanted to throw that out there. I don't have notes on it, so I hope it came out the way I intended. And but I wanted to throw it out there because there's a couple books that I wanted to suggest, or a book and some movies. I don't know how you want to look at it, that I wanted to suggest you take a look at. And their mindset. They are people living in awful situations, but who have positive mindsets, who are, dealing with their situation solely in here with nothing else positive going for them. So the first one is Tuesdays with Maury. I don't think I had you read that one, Andrea, but I used to teach that Tuesdays with Maury in my English class. It's a very easy read. I forgot who it's by. I did not write that in the notes, but Tuesdays with Maury. Maury is a college professor who is dying of Lou Gehrig's disease, I think it is. Lou Gehrig's disease, and which means everything's atrophying his body, and he's reaches a point where he's unable to feed himself. He's unable to, in the end, unable to breathe on his own. And he spends Tuesdays talking with an old student, telling him stories about everything, about life, about learning and love, and it's just a very positive book. He wants to do something positive with the end of his life, and so he tells his story. The other ones, I think I didn't double check this, but I get confused between Breakable and Unbroken. And I think this one's Unbroken, and it is about an Olympic gold medalist who gets stuck, post gold medal, gets stuck in a concentration camp. He's a prisoner of war in Japan, and there's one individual in the camp that's especially hard on him. They're starved and beaten, and he's beaten, and he holds this unbroken state of mind where he's going to not break based on what's happening to him. They have that in a movie and a book. It's a true story, and I cry every time. It is an amazing story of resilience and mindset. The last one, and I again was going to look this up, and I forgot. The Warrior, and that is a spirituality book, and again, a true story, and a movie. I saw it as a movie. I haven't read the book, but a gold medalist breaks his back. A gymnast breaks his back, and he wants to continue to compete, and he has to overcome. They tell me he's never going to compete again, and he has to overcome that in order to do so. And his mindset, he just does it based on mindset. I will post the books names. I don't know why I didn't double check these. I think I'm right, though. The only one I'm really questioning about is The Warrior. But I'm going to post the true names of the books. And again, Tuesdays with Maury might have a movie. Yes, it does have a movie. So they're all three in movie form. And I think, yeah, they're all three in book form as well. And I will post the names of those in the true names of those in the comments. And I think that's it. I did want to talk about one last thing real quick. I'm playing with new buttons here. Let's switch the button. And Andrea, you cannot see the buttons. So, but if you watch it on YouTube, you will be able to. I just can't do this program I use on Instagram. But anyway, so next week, I should be talking about the second habit next week, which is begin with the end in mind. I had to look. Begin with the end in mind, but I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm going to be coming on live on Tuesday, and I'll be coming on Thursday. And I haven't completely decided the times. Thursday may be the normal time, but Tuesday I might come on a little bit earlier. And I'm coming on with Vince, who is my partner in all things that we do, even though you see me here. But he's going to come on, and we're going to talk about family recovery. Next week, we're launching our Now Sober Academy website. It's a membership site. Right now, it's focused on families in recovery, helping people help your loved ones. And next, as soon as we get settled in that and in the right space in that, comfortable with that, we're going to add people with, individuals with addiction and recovery. So, but we're starting on families, and next week he's going to come on and we're going to talk about that a little bit, and give some tips on some stuff families can do. And so We will be taking a break from the. Hi, Simo. Glad you joined us. We're getting ready to finish, but I will have the replay if you would like to join us later. Anyways, the week after that, I will be back with the second habit. Begin with the end in mind to help you with recovery. What did I say? The 7 habits of highly effective recovery. No, the 7 habits of highly effective sobriety. So we will be talking about that in 2 weeks, 2 Thursdays. And I guess that might be it. I don't know. I might have to change some days around because with the academy opening up, we are having course times. We're trying to organize course times so that Vince can be available. And so in the future, some things may change. But for now, see you next Tuesday and next Thursday at 7 o'clock. And you know what? Have a wonderful, wonderful night. I guess that's it. All right. Thanks. I'm going to go have dinner. So bye. And